Evening all, I'm with my good friend Chris, known as Chess Explained. So it was game 6 today of the World Chess Championship. Hi Chris.
Yeah, Trifon, hi.
Okay, in game 6, D4 by Boris Gelfand, and we saw a repeat of the Slav defense.
Yeah, these kind of games, they feel a bit like a broken record, right?
Yes, yes, and I'm getting a bit concerned about symmetrical pawn structures. I had an over-the-board game a few weeks ago where I was actually irritated the opponent played in exchange French, and I remember the irritation. I'm starting to feel the same thing with these games.
Yeah, it's like every evening we're sitting here and doing a video and it's a draw, and you think, what on earth are they doing there? Yeah, but okay, let's do the game.
But okay, so knight f6, e3, now e6.
Yeah, we got this is the third white game for Boris, and we got the same opening again. Knight f3 and a6 is kind of Semi-Slav Chebanenko line hybrid here, and Vishy really seems to have chosen this as his main defense here. And okay, I don't think he needs a reason at the moment to deviate. He got relatively comfortable draws up to now. So why should black change anything? And it's up to white to come up with something. I'm actually surprised that again we see this e3 line and not like knight f3 or whatever, something else.
But
I mean, Gelfand also sometimes plays 1c4 or other moves. So
yeah,
okay, but he tries queen c2 now.
Yeah, I think Queen c2, well, it allows actually a very resourceful player, I thought, to Anand's credit, to try and exploit the queen and potentially leave him with a weak pawn, which he even uses as a pawn sacrifice later. So the queen might be able to be used on the c file if that's made uncomfortable for white. And that seems to be the black plan. He plays very energetically against Queen c2.
Yeah, he played c5 now, which is maybe the main move nowadays. Just to explain briefly what's the idea of Queen c2, because it has an idea. If black wouldn't play c5, if he would play, let's say, knight b2 d7, just the normal kind of move that you tend to play, then white, I think, speculating here, would play b3 and try to develop his bishop to b2. If we remember the first two games, we had this situation where black went bishop b4 early, and then white needed to go bishop to d2 because he couldn't really play bishop b2. But now he actually could.
Yes.
And white would have a nice harmonious development. Now this kind of attacks on c3 are not so dangerous. Knight e4, you have bishop d3, and you're just in time.
Yes.
To get rid of the knight.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the idea. So black can play in this way. It's not super terrible, but it's maybe more for white than the other games. So c5 is really as you said, the most energetic way to try to open up the c file where white's queen is located a bit prematurely in a way. So yeah, now
So it's a bit like Tarish, defense idea.
It's Tarish defense with the tempo down. Black has lost a move, but this is actually a pretty common theme here in this opening. If white, for example, which has been played against me a couple of times, instead of queen c2, if white plays a move like a4, this is also sometimes played, trying to prevent b5. Then black also can play c6, c5 and goes into this kind of Tarash. The tempo down, but white has played the ridiculous move a4, which just weakens b4. And very often this kind of delayed c5 with the tempo less can be very effective, because white's extra moves hurt a bit in a way. So it's quite similar in the game. c5 is a loss of tempo from formal point of view, but it really addresses the you have the key points in the position, and also it simply allows knight c6, which is of course a good square for the knight.
Yeah. So here, c takes d5 was played, not minding liberating this bishop. White has his eye on that d5 pawn, potentially will target d5 soon.
Yeah, he wants to play against the isolated pawn that is most likely going to emerge in the center. So bishop e2 is very logical.
Because later there could be a bishop f3 to target d5, but also bishop d3 might even run into, at some point, c4. I don't know. No, bishop...
Yeah, the bishop is not very well placed on d3 for combating the d5 pawn. That is about to happen. You want to have rook d1 with direct pressure, and also
bishop
d3, as you mentioned.
Yes. So
bishop d3, bishop d3 now even might run into knight c6 or c4, but so yeah, this looks very standard. I think this has been played before. They mentioned this in the broadcast briefly, that this is a known position. So castles is logical, knight c6.
Yeah.
And now rook d1, this also makes sense.
Okay, so isolated queen's pawn game. After c takes d4, black has got that isolated queen's pawn, which looks as though the blockade is reasonable, but black is going to gain a tempo on the rook now after knight takes, rook takes, bishop c5, developing with a tempo. Okay, so rook d1 now. Okay, there's so what do you think of this position? It looks as though this bishop could be a menace on this diagonal if white's not careful about f2. Maybe something like e4 is quite dangerous sometimes, but on the other hand, this pin, black kind of gets his queen away from that d file now with queen e7. Also, I guess this queen's threatening that bishop indirectly. So queen e7 not only gets the rook away from the x-ray but protects c5, but it also prepares a cunning pawn sacrifice, as we're about to see.
Yeah, in general, what's pretty in a way amazing here, that black is better developed here, considering that he played c6, c5, which you would associate with the loss of time, but if you look at it now, black has got all minor pieces developed, queen on e7, so he's ready to castle and put rooks on, let's say, c8 and d8.
Yes. And
he's a bit quicker than white. And I think the main problem here for white is that the kind of slow plans that you usually would play, let's say, if you have time, you would play stuff like b3, bishop e2, bishop f3, knight e2, knight d4, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it takes an awful lot of time. It takes an awful lot of time, and black will get quick counterplay if you go b3, then this knight on c3 is loose on c3.
Yeah.
Rook c8, bishop b4. You get harassed here. So, but the main point, obviously, which we see in the game is that white goes bishop f3, attacking the pawn, and now. There has been a game which they quoted in the broadcast, or I don't know, somehow I learned that rook d8 has been played here before in the Grandmaster game, which is kind of the normal move, protecting d5. And I don't think even this position would hold so many horrors for black. He looks pretty solid. d4 is an idea to get rid of the pawn.
Right. Yeah, so that's not just a defensive move, rook d8, but Anand. So he plays energetically, very energetically. Not even because sometimes you can make your pieces passive if you try and let them protect a weakness.
Yeah.
So making it a kind of gambit now. He just castles.
Yeah, this is of course the move you want to play, besides the fact that it loses a pawn. And it turns out that losing a pawn didn't really matter so much here. Yeah, and Gelfand took it. I think if you don't take it, I don't see how you purposefully get your pieces out.
Well, maybe black has the option now of using this rook if needed.
Yeah, rook to f to d8 and
then the other one here. That would be more comfortable, wouldn't it? to have both rooks.
Yeah.
With d4 as a potential threat still. So yeah, blimey. So White's kind of, unfortunately, it seems White hasn't got that pleasant a position then if he's forced to accept a kind of gambit here.
Yeah,
but this
I think,
bishop's passive, locked in by its own pawn.
yeah, I think Gelfand did see that knight takes d5 doesn't lead to anything. But the problem is that what would you do to play for a win here? You need to consider, yeah, it's not easy because the queen is somewhat bad on c2. Let's say you play b3, just for instance,
Yeah.
to trying to develop, and maybe a move like rook c8 simply.
Bishop b2.
Yeah, bishop b2, and now the question is bishop b4, is this annoying, like pinning? Then you can maybe go queen d3, yeah, it's not such a big deal.
I wonder.
Or should black just play rook d8 now?
Maybe it
Yeah,
looks
maybe rook d8, because you want to play a knight e2 now, but you cannot because black discovers the bishop takes e3.
Yeah, knight e2, bishop e3.
Yeah, and it's hard to prevent d4 now.
I'm just wondering in this position, this bishop might be awkward. I'm wondering about g6 and bishop f5, but I know you're weakening the dark squares as soon as you play g6.
Yeah,
but
bishop f5 is an idea though. It would be nice to get a tempo. I think if you are able to play d4 here, then it's over anyway in terms of playing for any advantage, and you need to be cautious even that black's somewhat superior development doesn't get you into trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know knight takes d5. It doesn't lead to a most inspiring position.
No.
But the other stuff really looks like only white can get into trouble.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he took the pawn. What can he do? So we got this position now where the pieces are exchanged on d5 and now rook c8.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now there's limited white options here, isn't there? Because if he doesn't do what he played, which is bishop d2, what does he do here?
Yeah, he can easily drift into a very, very awkward position if he doesn't immediately tries to get his pieces into play.
What would be the most painful if b3? I wonder about bishop e3 or just bishop d4. I mean, I suppose the rook.
Yeah, this is just horrible. But it's hard to suggest a move. Let's say queen b3 maybe to get out of the discovery of the bishop, just to try and move. And now, what does black play here? I mean, it's obvious that black has got some compensation, but
I think just rook d8 actually just is probably quite dangerous. I'm not sure. Okay,
rook d8 is certainly a good move. I'm just looking if there's something even more aggressive available. I don't see it, but
yeah, because this, I mean, if say bishop d2, that would be a disaster, wouldn't it? Takes, and then rook d8 here.
Yeah, this is quite embarrassing. Yeah. Yeah, maybe rook d8 is good. White doesn't have much else than maybe taking on d8. Or I don't know, a move like h3 or something.
This looks as though there's enough compensation. White's just, this bishop is just a nightmare.
Yeah, the problem is not compensation. The problem is it's maybe bad for white. That's the problem. I think he wouldn't mind to take a pawn if he thinks his position is still solid, but here you could easily imagine white being very worse.
Yeah.
If the rook gets on into to d1 in a way, maybe a threat here is a move like queen e6 or something, trying to get rid of the queen and then infiltrate on d1.
Yes, actually, I did do a bit of an engine check earlier, and there was this variation I found, well, in some other point of the game, where even after queens came off, rook d1 check, king moved rook h1, and black had this nasty pin then on the bishop, and that was enough compensation. It was better for black even. So
maybe put it on the board just to show, because it's a really useful motif to know. Let's say white goes h3, to make yourself a bit of room here for the king. Queen e6, queen takes e6, rook d1 check, of course, king h2, and then takes. And now it's can be quite an issue to get this piece developed. Well, maybe b3.
Now in this position, I wonder about the check to force g3 to sort of weaken the second row a bit, because then if bishop b2, rook d2,
you have the check. They have a check. Check g3, bishop e5.
Bishop e5, even more painful to stop bishop b2.
This kind of stuff, and it's hard to see how white gets get rid of the rook. Maybe you can even go. Maybe you can go king g2, f3 to e2.
I don't think there's time because of this that maneuver. So let's see if it's black to play here. Bishop c3.
This is the very direct, but also very good, good continuation. You're right. This is something white needs to avoid, and this is kind of the danger in this position. Your back rank is a bit weak, and you simply don't have your pieces out. So rook ac8 sort of, maybe forces white to play what he played. It's also what Gelfand said in the press conference, that he tried to make lines work where he grabbed the pawn, and I mean not only grab it but also keep it. But he said he's the only one risking something there, not even risking a little. So bishop d2, this is just the best move.
Good, he has this. It's a neat move in many respects. It gets a symmetrical pawn structure, unfortunately, which isn't very crowd pleasing after bishop takes e3. So he's giving a pawn back, but he's now getting this very nice bishop c3. At least his bishop is now useful, and his rook's ready to be used. And in fact, his queen visually has an aggressive square as well to make use of. Well, this is just the kind of variation where white doesn't have any problems at all, and maybe he's even got a little bit of an advantage. It's not too dramatic, but the bishop on c3 is a fine piece. It's nicely protected, blocking the c file, and you've got this idea of queen f5, rook to d7, and well, it's a little bit of something, not much, but at least white doesn't risk anything, and still can try a bit. But okay, Vishy is maybe the best defender that there is, so it's hard to beat him. Bishop b6 was played. Now queen f5, which seems to create an immediate threat of rook d7, for example.
So black needs to attend to this.
So he plays actually queen e6. Okay, and the queen now just goes to f3. So maybe b7 could be vulnerable in some variations, but also g7 looks eyed as well in some lines. And this next move seems to want to blunt this bishop.
Exactly. He wants to avoid any nasty business on g7. So this is certainly a recommendable move here. f6. You need to be cautious all the time to weaken your king, but it's not that white can make any use of this, and it's just more important to get rid of potential threats on g7. So looks like a fine move, and now h4.
Which sorts out the back row issue, but also this h5 h6 might be useful, but it didn't turn out that useful in the game actually.
It's kind of using all your units to make something happen here. So he uses h4.
Actually, here is where the game became mega exciting for me, because on the live commentary stream, Kasparov joined Peter Zvidler, for the commentary, and Kasparov actually predicted this next move, Queen C6. They were basically saying if they can get the heavy pieces off, Black should have no problems here. And Queen C6 sort of sets immediate questions for White. You know, for things like maybe Rook D8. This pin's quite useful.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to play Rook D8 next and exchanging all those heavy pieces, and then it's really nothing. It's nothing anyway, but
well,
you need to be a bit cautious.
Actually, on my engine analysis though, I did some with Houdini. There was a sort of in one variation, a kind of Alekhine gun construction of Rook AD1, Rook D3, and Queen D1. So when the Queen's behind two rooks, it's Alekhine's gun. It seemed to think that gave White a small, tiny advantage, but I don't think there was anything a big deal about it. Might not have been here, exactly here.
Just on Rook D1, what if Black just plays Rook D8? Is there something bad happening?
Might not have been this exact position. It does look as though Rook D8 simplifies quite safely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this bishop is supporting Rook D8 as well, so I don't know.
It's certainly as good as the game, I guess. It's not nothing bad happening to White here. Takes lots of moves of doubtful quality to get you into trouble here with White. Now White is just it's just equal, just the same as in the game.
So what he played was more exciting, H5. So as though H6 might be a threat at some point, undermining these two.
Yeah. Yeah, Rook D8, just chop everything off here, and now we get this position where Black allows this split pawns.
Yes, but and Kasparov gave, if H6, this isn't such a hot move here. What was played was actually Rook E1, but if H6, Black has just G5 or even G6, because here this pawn, if it's taken, well, there's at least two moves which are interesting. Bishop takes F2 with the idea of Rook F8, or just Rook D2 looks good as well. But maybe I don't know what's absolutely best.
Rook F8 also. Rook F8.
Rook F8. That's another move as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting at least. I mean, Rook F2 and Rook D2 and takes on F2 was fine also. This doesn't look so bad also.
Yeah, if you're winning B2...
It could be risky though. You need to be cautious in the position. Pawn. Yeah, this pawn. You're sort of in a cage there. If White, let's say, yeah, a king move, I'm not sure where, but let's say to H2, and then a move like a Rook F1.
Yeah, this could be getting dangerous for the Black King.
Yeah, like Bishop E7, Rook F8 mate.
Yes. So actually, Black. I don't know what the exact refutation is of.
Yeah, maybe this take on F or F2 or Rook D2. It both looks fine. This seems better.
All right. So if we take that, because actually H6 is vulnerable here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah, this is just nothing. White even loses a pawn here.
Yeah, for nothing. And C6 is protected as well. So that's not good. In fact, that might offer the advantage over G6 then. The fact that that the rook's attacking immediately H6. So G5 might be, I think, as Kasparov noted, a strong move here.
Yeah, Black threatens King F7, G6 and taking this thing.
Yeah, there's also that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, you need. It's not that White is in danger, but it's something you don't really want to play if you're trying to get something.
Yeah.
But well, Rook E1, it's just normal here.
Yep. So the invasion point is covered elegantly with King F7. Now, assuming, I suppose he's done A and he's going to do B, followed by C. He's done A, so B is playing G4. It does support that, but it does mean this pawn might be vulnerable. And of course, with E7 guarded, now Black can get away with this next move, Bishop D4, without any problem. Because if rook d1, there's bishop takes f2. That would be a disaster. There's no useful pin there.
Yeah.
So this g4 is exposed as a weakness, and actually the engines have it as almost dead equal on evaluation now. This rook and the it's quite
just is. What can you do?
Yeah, it's just the visual basis of the symmetrical pawn structure, and of course the massive simplifications. But yeah, this ending here, so takes rook d4. It is close to being completely, well, it's nothing. But should we demonstrate what could happen? Sorry, what could happen here? So this is where they agree to draw.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is drawn in more than one way. Let's see what's the most accurate way. Well, I think if you want to try anything at all, then must be f3 here to cover this. Otherwise, black just takes g4.
Yeah.
So and now it's a question. I don't think you want to play a passive move here, but you can just play rook d1 and rook d2, right?
Oh right, yeah. Win this with the check. Sorry, yeah, much stronger than rook d2. Just play
yeah,
check.
I stupid. I was also thinking just rook d2. You can just grab this pawn, and I'm actually be a pawn up here.
Yeah, again.
Or white gets it back with rook a3. It's nothing. No, then rook b6. Yeah, this was actually stupid.
Yeah. So he can't actually play f3. That's an important note then. So white would perhaps have to play rook takes c6, allow g4 to drop, and black.
Yeah, you can play a5. You can play rook a4.
Yeah.
Rook a4 looks a bit strange, but even this is possible. A5 maybe just advancing this pawn. You can always play a4, covering it from the side, and also rook g5, attacking h5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very drawish.
It's in the balance.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it did have its points of drama, this game. Should we do a quick review then? Or
Yeah, let's go quickly through it.
Okay, so a new variation with Queen c2, which was pounced on energetically by Anand as black, to his great credit, making it into a sort of very active gambit. But white countered this by just sacking the pawn back, so we ended up with a symmetrical pawn structure, unfortunately for the crowds watching this game all around the world. Symmetrical pawn structure. White's pressure here after Queen f5 was parried energetically with this very good idea of f6 and Queen c6, this useful pin. And then the h5 plan didn't seem to have too much bite to it in terms of h6, because black has resources. So we ended up with some more heavy pieces coming off, and the rook ending offering not much. Okay, so they agreed.
Yeah, it's a very precise play, but unfortunately, it's not the kind of chess that makes you get out the champagne bottles and celebrate. But what can you do? It sort of happens if both players don't take so much risk. You cannot really blame the black sides in those games. It really in those matches, you often got the talk, get this talk like play for a win as black and so on. Well, to be honest, this is just bullshit. With black, it's fine in those matches to have a fine, solid position, maybe trying to play on counter attacks if white does something stupid, but as white, you need to press somehow, and this really didn't work out here.
No.
It's still very nice, I guess, preparation, offering this sacrifice on d5. White was somehow forced to take this pawn, and after this it's just about nothing.
Yeah.
So I really hope that Gelfand in his next white game will try something a bit more ambitious. I think, well, if you go quickly to move 4, just quickly. Let's say he goes, instead of e3 knight f3 here, then Anand usually plays e6 here, and he also plays d takes d4, but usually plays a6, and then bishop g5, for instance, and then Anand only plays h6 here, no other move, and then bishop h4, and you get a completely crazy wild position where you can really play for something. It's this kind of d takes c4, e4, g5, bishop g3, b5, and both players have played this with both colors.
Wasn't this from the Botvinnik-Denko radio match between the States and USSR? Botvinnik.
Now this is not the Botvinnik. This is the anti-Moscow.
Oh.
It looks a bit similar, but here in this move order, white doesn't have the chance to sacrifice his piece on g5 like he can in the Botvinnik. So this is a real pawn sacrifice from white's point of view, but black has played the moves b5 and g5 in his first 8 moves. So you can also already see that his king won't have a safe haven in the near future. So this is the kind of open fist fight kind of position. Well, this, I don't know. If you want to win this match, maybe you need to get into something which involves the idea also of losing once in a while, but maybe you win something at times. So I was more expecting something along these lines to happen, but maybe he just says, okay, we're playing those draws, we have 12 games in total, and I can take those risks still on in game, I don't know, game 9, game 11. If you strike a blow there, it's hard to imagine that the other player will come back then. So it has a point from a match tactics point of view, but it's just not too great to watch. All right, so let's hope for some more excitement. The next game, is this tomorrow? No, it's on Sunday, right?
Right. So, I think rest day, because this was game 6. So 2 games, then a rest day. So I think rest day tomorrow.
Maybe he needs to try and stop playing against this a6 line. It really seems like Vishy has got it all worked out, and he's hard to beat. It was quite amazing in the broadcast today. They got, as you mentioned, Grandmaster Swidler in there, and he actually said that, and I was really surprised. He actually said that he never managed to win a classical time control game against Anand.
Oh, blimey.
And this is quite something, because they play against each other for like 16, 17 years, and he never won a game. He won blitz games or rapid game, maybe, or a blindfold game, but never in a 2-hour, 40 moves kind of game. And this shows that, Vishy is obviously really tough defender, and if you've got a really strong defender, you need to use some other weapons than this kind of featherweight style. But it's not meant as a huge criticism. It's just it seems hard to imagine that he can win this match in this way. And but okay, Anand, besides game 3, didn't have so much as white also. It shows that black with very, very thorough preparation has got really good equalizing possibilities. It's hard to get something nowadays with white. So all right.
Okay. I hope our YouTube viewers have got something out of the commentary here. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, just explain, Chris. Okay, so we'll be back after tomorrow. I hope.
I hope so too. I'm on a short vacation actually, and hope to have decent internet access so that we can continue this commentaries. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Cheers then.